And we are live. What is going on, legend? But welcome back to Beyond the 90. Got a good friend of the show. He's been on the show since we started. Got Daps again. It's been ages since you come on the show, man. How are you doing?
Long time. I'm good. And you know what? I will always do stuff for you because we were speaking offline before about how we've grown, but you were one of the ones that were there throughout the good and bad as well. So me and Ty were just speaking about you as well. So yeah, man. Good to come on. Not looking forward to the game though. But
really, you're not looking forward to the game at all?
Leicester away. It's Nah, I'm telling a lie. I always look forward to football, but yeah, Leicester away. It's not always the best of stomping grounds. You know what it is? We've got teams that other teams might not. You could probably tell me our last couple of results against you, and it probably involved us winning most of them. But being a City fan, we can get scarred.
1-0. So it was right? You've beat us twice. Okay, the last 4 years, it's been what? I remember this. So before it was 6-3, and before that was 1-0 to you. Can't remember the result when we were at your ground. But it was 5-2, and then I can't remember the one at home.
The 5-2. But yeah. The thing is, there's results that right. So as a City fan, generally against most teams, we win a lot. Not Liverpool, Tottenham. Apparently, you know, our record. Although our record against Tottenham is not as bad as some people make out, but there are key games that. But as a City fan, you always remember certain results like that 5-2. We'll always remember that. The season you won the league, like I remember you beating us. I reckon it was about a January or February game when you really started. And as a City fan, those games, we remember those games. We don't remember the 2-0s or the 1-0 wins. We remember the times where we've, you know, someone's got. And the 5-2 was that was at our gaff, I think, as well, wasn't it? Was it
during lockdown? Yeah, about November, about this time 2 years ago, I think.
No, it was early, you know, and it was early. It was either because it was so early, right, that off the back of that game, I made £300 off of bets with Arsenal fans. Arsenal fans saying they're going to finish above City.
Really?
And we won the league that season. So, but yeah, that game, because that was the day that you beat us 5-2. Then Liverpool went and lost to Villa
7-2, yeah, and he got overshadowed.
And that was like, which made the City one not as bad.
Yeah, I think it was that same. It might have been the same weekend or the same evening. And I remember what was really impressive about that was, what was really impressive about that was that I remember speaking to you afterwards, or I think after that, but reflecting on that game again. Apologies, my internet's just not having a good time. But one thing I remember is that Fernandinho and the comment and just getting the team together is right. This is how we're going to play. This is what we're going to go and achieve. And I really thought that was I think that from that moment you kicked on to pretty much win every game from there on out.
That was the last game, I think, as well against you. Was the last game before Diaz arrived.
Yes,
because we played, and Ake played, and Ake didn't actually have that bad a game. There was a certain individual on the pitch that day that will never play for us again. He had an absolute stinker of a game. That might have been the last time he ever played for us, potentially as well. Thank God. So yeah, but so I just remember certain games against Leicester. But look, you're starting to pick up some form as well, aren't you?
A little bit. Again, it's not saying much considering we're 2 points above the relegation zone. There's quite a few teams that are in that position as well. I mean, there's pretty much the entire bottom half of the table that are in the relegation zone at this moment in time. So again, we shouldn't be in this position, but I just want to, again, we picked up a little bit of form. There's a little bit of tactical tweaking that Brendan Rodgers made. I still don't think he's the right man to take us forward, to be honest with you. Just because again, some of the things, imagine him saying, this year, our goal is 40 points.
Look, I always speak on yourself. I speak on Reedy. And I know from pretty much day one, maybe not day one, but definitely like the second season under Rodgers, neither of you have been that fond of him, right? And what I mean by that is I'm not saying you were calling for his head, but whenever asked about him, neither of you seemed like, yep, we 100% back this manager. Both of you seem to have concerns about him already. It's strange because I go by, one of my mates really dislikes him, and it's to do with, he's told me some nasty stories about the guy, to be fair, that a guy actually genuinely just isn't a nice person. But for me, the telltale signs were like the end of, not last season, the season before, when you were still in a good position. I think you were still in the top 4, and Maddison and one or two other players had been out, and they had broken rules, right? But you were in a fucking good position, right? And he dropped them. And I'm like, you know what? Sometimes it's not about you. You can't be dropping Maddison, bro, with like 2-3 games left in the season. You don't. Deal with it in the summer. And just little things like that, where it's like, do you know how to keep a dressing room happy? You don't go and drop 3 players when you're fighting for a Champions League position. Just little things like that. And then this summer, he didn't impress me with the comments about your club, when he's kind of, because I honestly believe your owner would have got rid of him sooner, but he's, you know, his dad brought Brendan in, and there's probably a bit of, you know, I've got to be respectful to my dad, what my dad wanted. Don't go and start talking crap about a club that like has brought you back to the Premier League, because that's what Leicester have done. And they have. I also think in the summer, am I right, you got a new fitness team?
And we got a new. So recently, we've got a new set. We got a set piece coach again. We didn't have one before this. Brendan has gone out of his way and said we don't need one, even though we conceded the most goals from set pieces last season. Things like that, you're like, right, okay, that's kind of dumb. And then we've got a new head of recruitment. His main guy, Lee Congerton, has moved on to Atalanta. What else? There's a couple of other bits as well, but there's a few things behind the scenes that are just starting to tweak.
I heard that you, in the summer, got a whole new fitness team, right? And it kind of, to me, sounded like, because admittedly, you have had bad injuries. Looks like your internet might have just come back, you know. Over the summer, you last 2 seasons you've had injuries. It's not, you know, it's not, you lot might not shout about it like Liverpool fans, but you have had injuries. And your board didn't back him in the summer for reasons they can't afford to at the moment. I do think he did get back last summer a bit as well. But for them to go out and get a whole new fitness team kind of sounds like he's been moaning and using excuses. So they've gone, no problem, have a whole new team. We're not going to go and spend millions on players, but if you think with the squad, and I think that's why you're reluctant to sell certain players as well, because it's like, no, you can have the same group of players, you can have a fitness team to keep them fit and show us what you're made of, Brendan. But yeah, I always go by what you and Reedy had said, that you never, either of you, seemed too confident on him. But
I did, to be honest. I was backing him even the year when we played the. I was backing him because the fall off that we happened, but I'm like, no, I'm willing to back him for what he's achieved. When you mentioned when they had when they were going out, they had parties during lockdown again, Hamza Chowdhury, James Maddison being the case. I was 100% behind Brendan because I was going, this is not your fault. And the way he's rallied the troops before when we've played Arsenal and the team has just fallen apart in front of our eyes in terms of injuries, just 1, 2, 3, 4.
And you have.
And he had such a good way. Yeah. But what it is, mate, he's just reached the end of his tenure where some managers just have a shelf life. And he just has reached the end of his shelf life. Like I'll give you some stats. We won 4-0 against Wolves. Again, can't complain in terms of fantastic performance, played really well. However, do you want to guess how much XG? And I'm not a massive XG guy. Do you know how many XG we got for that game?
How many?
0.89. Every shot on target we had went into the goal, which is great, but it's what we call it's unsustainable.
It's effective. Yeah, it's
hell of effective, but it's something that's unsustainable. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm glad we got the win. I'm glad we scored 4 goals. But let's be honest, when we have again, they had 21 shots of 5 shots on target. We had 4 shots. All of them went in. In the Leeds game, we won 2-0. We only had technically 1 shot on target.
I think the other thing is, so through the summer, we were doing every 2 weeks on Never Fail. We did our predictions of the league table, how it would end, right? But we were doing it and we started doing it very early on in the summer. And it was based on the there and then. So even if we were doing it on a Sunday and we thought that Haaland was going to arrive at City on the Monday, we had to do it based on there and then, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Leicester was always like, there was a few teams, there was this batch. It was like Leicester, Wolves, because I was a strong advocate of Wolves, to be fair. I thought Neto was going to kick on. Newcastle, I was a huge, I was pushing for Newcastle top 6. There's a group of about 5 of you, and Leicester was one that we were, and it was that 5 that we'd really spend most of our time going about on. And with
West
Leicester,
Ham,
the one thing, but I'm not pro West Ham. I think West Ham, I always use West Ham and Leicester and say, for me, with Leicester's squad, Brendan's underachieving, and with West Ham's squads, Moyes is overachieving. But I don't think they could switch, because I don't think your group of players are a Moisey group of players. But I think I rate your, certainly in the summer, I was rating your squad. The 2 players I was saying, if Ndidi and Fofana both stayed and had big seasons, Leicester could be back. But Fofana, for me, is Ndidi's a player that the drop-off has been just different level. But the one thing I was saying about with Leicester is, when we were talking about where they should be as a club, is I was strongly saying we have to, and this goes back to what you said about him coming out with 40 points. It wasn't, you've won a league far more recently than United.
Arsenal.
You've won a league. I think Chelsea won the league the season after you, was it?
Yes, 2017 with Kante.
Look, it wasn't that long ago. Yeah, with Kante, yeah, and Drinkwater potentially as well. But it wasn't that long ago. So, and then since then, you've been there. You haven't challenged again, but you've been always pushing for European. I think you've been in Europe since then, have you? Have you dropped out of Europe at all since then?
So we went through a period. We finished first, then finished 14th, then finished was it 8th, and then 5th, or something.
Right.
So again, it's been progress where
you'll come back in a minute. Smash a like, people. Help the internet.
Mate.
If you smash a like, it might help it. No, it's fine. It's fine. Listen, these are technicals we experience. But what I was going to say is that your board will want better. Your board won't want 40 points. You can't, and your fans certainly won't. People drop off, and we all accept that, but you can't drop off to accepting 40 points. No way. No way.
And especially with the team we've got. Even with the team we've got, Maddison, Barnes, again, yes, some of these, but Yuri Tillemans, a fantastic player. Yes, we lost Fofana, but we've got Walt Fass, who is looking really good. Timothy Castagna, James Justin. These people are not 40-point teams.
They're not. Is it Pereira for you?
Pereira is injured, but yeah, he's a quality player.
He's injured, yeah. But then, again, Daka. Before I wanted Daka a couple of seasons ago. I wanted Daka. Vardy's still there. Iheanacho, who you get in Iheanacho firing, he can fire. So it's not a bad team.
What do you make of Iheanacho? I wanted to get thoughts, because obviously he's honestly a fan favourite with Leicester. But Rodgers has his favourites. He doesn't like Nacho because you can't put him in a box and go, he is this kind of player. He's a half 10, he's a half 9. He makes a terrible game and then puts one away in the 90th. And you're like, where does that come from? Such a, I don't know how to describe it, but it's the kind of player that makes you love football.
Do you know what? Right. So I think so. You got to remember, he was at City when Pep arrived. Yeah. And he'd had the season where he was getting goals off the bench before Pep arrived. Then when Pep arrived, he, and this was before Jesus arrived, before Sane was up to speed. So the first 3-4 months under Pep, Aguero got an injury and Pep let Iheanacho out. Said, go on. And he didn't perform in any of the games. And it was like, you know what? As a sub, he was doing bits as a sub. Got given a run. I don't believe he scored once. And after that, it was like, yeah, not good enough. This isn't what we're going to... I get it, pressure, man. But this is interesting because that was very early. If you go back to how Pep's managed Foden and other players since, they've never got a run like that. Iheanacho got a real run. strikers are such confidence players. If you look at when he was getting a run for you and starting, and I always say, look at Haaland at the moment. I think if Núñez gets a goal, I think Núñez will go on a run. I think with strikers, it's such a thing. He can be very clinical. Iheanacho can be very clinical, but at the same time, sometimes almost non-existent. And yeah, I mean, I'm pretty certain he scored a few important goals for you that have helped us, to be fair. So I'm pretty certain there is. I'm pretty certain there is, because I remember Twitter was going mad saying, he still loves City and whatever. But
might have been.
Does he get in Nigeria's team?
Yes, I'm pretty sure. Well, it's him, Osimhen. I don't think so. He's not qualified. No.
No, right, okay.
As well. So again, that kind of helps us, not gonna lie. But again, just another player that I want to bring back. Obviously, one of the key players for a player that we have both in common, Kelechi Iheanacho one way, Riyad Mahrez. The penalty. I have to talk about the penalty because his Leicester players know this. Unfortunately, when it comes to big moments, Mahrez. I love Mahrez. Don't get me wrong, talented player, but penalties. He's missed about a third of them for us, I think.
Do you know what, bro? Me and Mahrez are on such a journey. We really are. Look, so there was a moment when we beat Watford in the FA Cup final. Afterwards, that was the year we did the treble in the hotel. I watched a load of City fans go up and ask Mahrez for a autograph, and he said no, right? And then a couple of months later, we missed a penalty in a game that we could have won our first game at Anfield, like 87th minute. And at that point, I couldn't. He was like my most disliked Man City player. But he's a frustrating player, man. He really is. I feel like at the moment, I think he's going to end his career at City. Or if he doesn't, I think he's going to end his career in the Premier League now. The fact he's married ex-City player's daughter, seems very happy. I was actually sharing a hotel with him Saturday night, but I'll explain that offline. But the penalties are mad because you'd think, because he's very clinical, very, very clinical. He's one of our most clinical players. I was shocked to see a stat the other day, apparently, that he's good at taking penalties when the side he's playing for are winning. When they're not winning, he's got a really bad record. Now, I can't talk about penalty takers at City. BT said, someone else can have the penalties now because City have got loads of players that take penalties. Haaland's our penalty taker. He was off the pitch. Apart from that, De Bruyne misses penalties for us. Aguero used to miss penalties for us. Our penalty record is atrocious. It really, really is. But he's missed penalties in the last two Champions League games as well. So with those two, we would have been, I mean, we're going through top anyway, but he's not having the best of seasons at City. He's not, I don't think it helps at the moment that we haven't got a natural right back, because I think him and Walker works, but without Walker, we have to play Akanji or Stones who don't know the roles. So Mahrez doesn't track back like, other wingers trap back. And when you've got he doesn't. And Akanji and him last weekend against Brighton, I was like, this stinks. I'm sorry. It really does stink. Mahrez is a world-class player. Let me be clear. And he's a winner and he's contributed so much. So I don't want people to think I'm slandering Mahrez or hate him. I don't. I've just got that frustration with missing a penalty against Liverpool in the 87th minute when we could have beat them with fans in the ground, and then not signing City players. I'm like, sour taste in my mouth a bit. But look, he is also a player that's turned up in semi-finals of Champions Leagues for us before. So we could be doing a lot worse, a lot worse.
Yeah, I think with Mahrez, we've been there in terms of he blows hot and cold. Again, when we talk about when we won the league, obviously he was a massive part of that. But one of his roles as well, Danny Simpson, was really underrated that season because he goes, Mahrez, you do your thing. I'll take on the two men on my own. Because Mahrez doesn't track back. It's just not what he does.
Yeah, never has. He seems like the one almost like, because at City, people don't get away with that. They really don't. Leroy Sané, for me, I know he wanted to, or his family wanted him to go back to Germany, but I also don't think Pep put up too much of a fight, because there were games where I'd watch Leroy Sané come on and almost get dragged because his tracking back was so bad. It doesn't happen. Aguero got dropped because he didn't track back. So Mahrez has always kind of got away with it. He does get back, but it's not like, Sterling really used to get back. No. Foden gets back, but Mahrez was kind of, and even when he did get back, it was almost like get back just to make up the numbers. He's not going to do much back there.
Mm-hmm. He's not going to put the work rate in, if that makes sense.
No. And the thing this season is, he seems like this seems like slander on Mahrez, but he seems like one of the players that hasn't got on the page yet of playing with Haaland, which, Foden got pulled up for it after 1 or 2 games, and now he's fully on the same page. De Bruyne was from the start. Cancelo is. Bernardo is. With Mahrez, I get it, and I do get it, because if you've been playing in a team where it's been your role for 2 seasons to be the goal scorer, to now have to put it on a plate for someone else, it is hard. But yeah, at the moment, I'd say he's probably our most out of form player. But with him not going to the World Cup, he's starting quite a bit, because, of course, you would start him a bit. Yeah.
Fair enough. I guess that, again, apologies for the internet.
He might start against you, to be fair, as well, to be fair.
Do you think he will? Because, again, I've just looked at the lineup, obviously, for the midweek. I've got a feeling that, again, Grealish looked like he was left out as well. So Grealish
didn't start last weekend, actually. Nah, Grealish should start in that. Fuck that. Grealish should start in 100. Grealish didn't start against Brighton neither. Weird that, actually. I wonder why that is. Because Grealish has been, before last week, actually. No, Grealish did start. Grealish started last week against Brighton. Foden didn't start. Sorry, Grealish did start. Yeah, I think he might revert back to Grealish and Foden. It's a big game. I even think some of the changes that were made midweek were because I think Pep... Our last 2 Champions League games, we've rotated quite a bit because we've qualified, and we have to go, or it would be a very good look if we go into the World Cup top of the league. Although I wouldn't be that bothered because we come alive February time anyway, but to go in there, we know none of us know what this World Cup's holding for us. If we've got international players, none of us know how we're going to come out of it the other side. So to get as many points, and like I said, Leicester away is not no matter where you are in the league, Leicester away is not an easy game. Jamie Vardy likes Manchester City. Did you see what Haaland said on him as well?
About his running on, is it inside? Run on the
inside the box. One of the best. I think the best in the league inside the box.
Yeah, he runs inside. He goes. He's one. A lot of Leicester fans went. Yeah, we saw, like, we were surprised that he said it, but in a good way, because we obviously want to pick up our player. Because again, he's off the mark now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Vardy's always been very good against City, because Vardy plays the exact way that City don't like teams playing. The exact way. Like, he's very direct. Put him through against any defender. Is he still got? I haven't seen so much Vardy recently. He hasn't lost his pace yet, neither has he. Or has he?
It's not. So when Brendan's come in, they wanted to make the other players around him do that work rate that he was really done. He picks his moments a lot more. He's not running around like a headless chicken like he used to a lot more in his younger days. He realizes getting older, but when he needs to make that run, he makes it.
Yeah, right. Well, and that's the thing. Look, ultimately, if you look at Manchester City, you could say, even if the rest of the team isn't, and Brighton last week, we were bad. It was our worst home performance I've seen all season. Respect to Brighton. I thought Brighton were very, very, very good. And I think Pep respected it. But the thing is, when you have De Bruyne and when you have Haaland, you can still win those games. But on the flip side, when you have Maddison and when you have Vardy, same thing. Maddison, man.
Yeah, he's unplayable. He's genuinely at times. He scores goals and free kick for fun. It's crazy. And considering he went on a really lull patch and he just came straight. He's been on form for about a year now, and
that's where I would give Brendan some credit, because he has
100%.
They fell out, but they've got over it, and Brendan has revived Maddison. Maddison. What he's got to go to the World Cup, man. I'm sorry, he has to.
He has, but you know what it's like with Grealish, where there's a certain kind of player that Gareth Southgate doesn't like. They have a little bit of attitude. They're a little bit cocky. They're a little bit like, I can grab the game by the scruff of the neck, and when everything's going wrong, I'm going to try and give it my best. And there's certain players I like
they're friends actually as well, aren't they?
They are, yeah. But I say Grealish is one of them. Maddison's one of them. When everybody else is playing well, everybody else playing bad, they go, right, I'm going to give it the extra, and the fans love it. And for some reason, that kind of character, I think Trent might be a little bit like that as well. That kind of character just doesn't agree with Southgate.
Mental in it. It's, the more we talk on it, the more frustrating it is, because I like one of the things I'm saying at the moment about the England team is what we mustn't do is take. You know, if you have 3 players in every position, the last thing you want is 3 players the same. If you have 2 players the same, I totally get it, because if one gets injured, you've got another one. But your third should be a wild card. Like, for example, I was like, I don't want 3 players that play like Harry Kane. It sounds mad, and I'm not saying take this guy, but if Calvert-Lewin, right, between now and the World Cup stays fit and scores every game, headers, right, do you know what? Take him, because he's our target man. That if in the last minute we can't break a team down, Trippier and Trent, Calvert-Lewin, goal, right?
Peter Crouch,
don't start him every
World
game.
Cup.
It's just something different. And with Maddison, like over Grealish, like Grealish at City, even at Villa, he's a player. He's a what's the word I always use for him? He's a forgot it again. I always forget this word, but basically, he gets in people's heads. People will be attracted to him. People move towards him, and he gives other players space, right? That's what he does. He's starting to come alive for City at the perfect time as well. Last weekend against Brighton, he was our best player. It's frustrating that he can have performances like that, but all other fans do is look and go, no goal, no assist, must have been rubbish. And it's like, I asked a United fan, we scored 6 against you. He didn't get a goal or assist. Was he good? Yeah, he's one of your best players. I was like, thank you. That's Jack Grealish. The difference is with Maddison is that Maddison can score a goal out of nowhere. So for him to not be on the...
It's Southgate ball. This is what happens where you look, he's got his favourites. His favourites are Mason Mount. That position is just his, regardless of what form is going to happen. Mason Mount will always get that position. Harry Kane is going to be in that spine as well. Anybody else has got to... Do you think, yes, Sterling as well? I mean, Sterling...
There's the thing is, for me, there's some that have earned it.
Yeah.
But 28-man squad, right? Not all 28 have earned it, right? There's some that are just in there based on their being, and that's the thing. Like I totally get Sterling over the however long Sterling deserves to be there. Kane the same, and you know, however much we slander Harry Maguire, he's earned it, right? There's players that have earned it. However much we might not want Maguire to go, in an England shirt, Maguire's probably been one of our best centre backs. So I get it, but there are midfielders and creative players that are getting more of a look than Maddison, and it's insane. It's absolutely insane. Really is.
At the end of the day, from my perspective, it benefits us, and that's kind of how I'm looking at it. Because a lot of our players aren't going to the World Cup. Patson Daka isn't. Zambia haven't qualified. Ndidi hasn't, but he's been off form for ages. You look at the likes of, obviously, Schmeichel's left. Danny Ward will be going, and Iverson won't be going. So the keepers.
Schmeichel one was such a mad one, you know.
But that shows you he fell out with the manager. He wouldn't leave after 11 years. He wanted to retire at this club.
It just seemed so, like, I didn't even know when someone said Schmeichel's left. I was like, what? And then someone said how old he was. That surprised me, because I was like, fucking hell, I am getting old, right, for Schmeichel. But you know, when a player's getting old, and you know a player's getting old, he wasn't getting old to that point. There's still a few seasons left in him for me, and probably would have joined the coaching staff there. And so, you think so? He fell out? Did he fell out with Brendan?
He fell out with Brendan. He loves this club. He ran again. Speaking of it, it's going to be the 4th anniversary of Kumbicha with the helicopter accident. He ran towards the helicopter when it was on fire.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I remember
this guy
that.
is Leicester. This guy is Leicester. Like and also there was an ITV documentary where he mentioned, I want to be a one-man club, and he was going to be that with Leicester. He won the championship with us. He won the Premiership with us. Won the FA Cup with us. he's been there in our big moments. To see him leave it wasn't like it was rumored. It was literally 1 week he was gone.
It was a backdoor. It was just very bizarre. Like it was. Yeah. I don't want to say, right. So this era of Leicester players that he is a pivotal part of, I don't actually know what the reason to give players testimonials is, right?
Yeah.
But Schmeichel to you is like Pablo Zabaleta to Manchester City.
Yeah. He's been there from the bad times, from when we weren't very good.
Was he a captain? He was your captain. Was he a captain?
For years, since Wes
Morgan
your
Vincent
retired.
Kompany. You could even say might have been your Vincent Kompany. Yeah, so very bizarre.
So since we were bought over by the King Power Group, he was one of the big signings we got in. I'd say up there with ours is Wes Morgan, Jamie Vardy, these people that have been there and have done it for this club for years. And they are just loved. Again, Mahrez is not loved on that level, but he is still appreciated. Do you see what I mean? I don't know if it's anything with Man City fans.
Maybe a bit like Yaya to us.
Yeah. And we've actually got a player that might be, again, I'm not trying to compare him to Yaya. If you're going to watch Samore today against the weekend, I'm not going to say he's like Yaya Toure, as in the quality, but he's a very close kind of holding that main pivot and spreading balls, driving forward into the ball, vehicle.
Right, okay.
So it'll be one look out from our side. Samore is, I really like him. He's still a bit rusty and still getting used to the Premier League, but you watch him and you go, yeah, this guy's definitely got talent.
Yeah, you see it. Yeah. Schmeichel one really did baffle the hell out of me. I don't understand it, because it is when you see a player and you think they're retiring there. There's no need for him to go elsewhere. And then you brought in a keeper that, I mean, I think he's improved, but didn't hit the ground running.
Yeah, do you know what he was? The thing is, because Schmeichel's been he played every single game for us. Schmeichel didn't, unless he was never injured. He always played unless there was like a Carabao Cup against a League One side. Literally, that's where we'd rest him. Every other game, Kasper Schmeichel started in that position. So when he left, he was big boost. We were terrible from set pieces, from defending. Danny Ward was part of the problem, but I think he was the scapegoat. But again, defense is a unit, not just to keep. And I know there's been a lot of, I think I've seen a lot of slander around Edison, but for the same thing, it's not just about one player. It's about the whole unit. There's been a lot of, again, it's about the whole defense unit. And when goals go in, centre backs are at fault, full backs are at fault, and the goalkeeper's at fault. It's not just, unless it's a howler by the keeper.
Do you know, there's actually, I watched one interview with Vincent Kompany. I think it was with Rio Ferdinand, right? And he was on 5, and he was talking about one season where after every game there'd be a meeting, and it would be a meeting involving the whole team, and fingers would get pointed, and it got to a point where Vinny, not the coaching staff, not Mancini, because it was Mancini era, Vinny, Lescott decided, right, after every game, if we've conceded a goal, before we have the meeting with the rest of the team, we're having our own inquest where, as a defensive unit, we will break down. And so when we go in this meeting, we can go, our fault, this is where we went wrong. But if it wasn't, and we're saying, hold on a second, but we were in the positions we should be in, where were you lot as midfielders? Or if it's a set piece, you were supposed to be. And we went on, I think there was like a crazy, something like 3,000 crosses without conceding a goal, because they were just but that is the thing with Edison. It's people really focus on Edison's shot stopping, and it can be hard for a goalkeeper when you have a really quiet game. And as far as for stats, it can be even harder that if you don't have too many shots against you, and you say you have 4 shots against you, you save 3, concede 1, you've got a 75% save rate. If you have 10, save, you know where I'm going with this. The ratios don't work,
stats
right?
Don't make football.
But the biggest thing is with Edison is, Edison will concede more goals than Alisson. He's not as good as Alisson as a shot stopper. However, without Edison in this Manchester City team, the defenders, the midfielders, the forwards do not have the confidence playing out from the back. Like the man gives us an 11th man on the field. It really does. And that means that every single player can hold their position. They don't drop deep worried. And we saw it against Liverpool in the semi-final last year when Zach Steffen played, and every single City player dropped 10 yards deeper and were kind of moving out of position. So it is what it is. We understand that. But what he brings us with his feet is just... And when you go to a game and you sit maybe in one of the lower tiers where you're close and you see a defender can pass the ball back to him on his left foot, his right foot. It can have a bobble. They don't think, oh shit, that was a bad pass, I need to drop deeper. They know he'll deal with it. It's just, and it's so important to us. Yeah, the Edison slander all the time. Yeah, but he like Schmeichel plays pretty much all games. Got rested yesterday actually, so
he'll be back for our game. I remember against the 1-0, he made some fantastic, again, not just his saves, but his ability to close, maybe from a shot topping not as good, but his ability to again close down immediately, shut out Vardy a few times where I was like,
and that against you, like, that's massive, man. I mean, that's risky as hell, but against Vardy, that's massive. Yeah, it's one of the things I think he's very good at is not switching off in games, because if we have a lot of possession in your half, it's very easy for a keeper to, and at times, City fans do Edison watch just to see what he's up to in the middle of games, because he can be quite lonely back there. Can be quite lonely.
But again, the thing is, it is a lonely position because you're not playing with anybody for long periods of time. Yeah. I remember when I was playing football, again, not in a goalkeeper position that much because I was just stuck in the back, but all the football's in front of you. All you've got is the fans behind you giving you crap. Literally, that's what you've got the majority of the time. I remember watching an interview with Tim Howard, and he was mentioning that. He goes, a lot of the time I just shut it off. He goes, I could, because it was awful when everything is going forward. All you're getting is abuse from behind you.
Away game, yeah, I've never thought of it. Away games must be fucking long as a goalkeeper.
Yeah, especially when there's nothing and it's cold and you're just standing there, you're not doing anything. You've got a bottle, you've not got a lot there. So yeah, in terms of, again, coming back to some of the bits that we've got, one of the things I've got is, obviously I want to speak on Haaland a little bit more, but how's Pep doing? Obviously, he's been pretty consistent for a few years now, but how's Pep coping with stuff? Because he's still smashing it.
Yeah, you know what? We're waiting for the contract sign. It's frustrating at the moment because his contract's up at the end of the season. I think he's come out and said he wanted to wait till after the World Cup, which is bizarre. But he's constantly said how happy he is in Manchester. To me, Pep seems happier than he's ever been the last year and a half. Not just, I mean, with the media, he used to nibble at times. It's like he knows the British media now. He knows he has to do press conferences. Doesn't let much rattle him. He almost is sarcastic when he needs to be. He's evolving for me. Like last season, I really noticed how he'd play certain ways against teams away from home. Liverpool away from home, first 25 minutes, we kept slowing the game down. It was like, he knows, don't let these fans get excited. Admittedly, this season, he went and riled the Liverpool lot, which wasn't a good idea. But yeah, he seems very happy. The thing is, he's got, you know, the board at our club are his friends. They're from Barcelona. His brother owns a football club with them. He's constantly came out. He's actually came out and said he loves Manchester City. It's taken him ages to say it. He admittedly Barcelona is his club, but he loves the place. Manchester's his home. But until he signs another contract, then we'll find out. But the key with me is, and you know, other fans will say when he leaves things will change. But the one thing that I've learned is to trust my board, because they've only done one thing wrong. That was the Super League. I believe they got forced into that. We were the first to pull out, and the chairman has come out in an interview and apologized and said he will never make a mistake like that again. Apart from that, they get everything right. When we have had, before Pep signed his first ever extension, Van Bronckhorst was behind the scenes for months, just seeing what was going on. That they have that. I think when he signed his last contract, it was him and Khaldoon went to the Maldives together and had a chat. They're on that level. If Pep is going to leave, our board will know probably 6 months before it gets leaked. And they will probably use Pep to help get the right person. So he will leave. We thought we were going to get 2 or 3 years out of the guy. This is his 7th. So, and in that time, we've retained the league twice. We've got to 2 semi-finals, 1 final of the Champions League. We've done a double, a treble, 100 points. If it wasn't for that one season, Liverpool won the league. We've won 4 of the last 5 leagues. We're blessed. And if Pep leaves tomorrow, then thank you, Pep. You have given me the best era of football. I grew up never thinking I'd see a trophy. This is mad. So
I'm with you, man. Obviously, we're on 2 different levels, but I'm 100% with you.
It really is. It's when you think about it, when I see sometimes some City fans, like last night, for example, or Tuesday night, moaning that we didn't win against Dortmund. And I'm like, guys, we draw with them, both of us qualify. They knew it, we knew it. What were you expecting? And we have the biggest, like we've got 5 games till the World Cup. We're gonna rest. Pep's gonna tell them, don't run your heart out. Stop being so entitled. The most I celebrated as a kid was Man United not winning the league, right? Now, all of this, if Pep leaves tomorrow, and that's what's frustrating probably the most, when people say, if Pep doesn't win the Champions League, he hasn't succeeded. As City fans, we're like, are you having a laugh?
What it is, Daps. This is my thing. There isn't. I love doing long format stuff where we can talk for ages and we can get our thoughts out. A lot of things now are clarified in 140 characters on Twitter.
100%. Yeah. No context.
This is the take. So in reality, life doesn't work like that. I love doing these long form conversations where I get you on and we can talk about these things and we give each other time to speak and stuff like that. When it comes to he's not won a Champions League. Yes, but there's so many other things. What has he won? But it doesn't give you the context.
Yeah. I mean, so don't get me wrong. I think Pep, if you ask Pep, if you leave City without winning the Champions League, he will tell you why that isn't fair and tell you all the great things. But I think deep down in his head, if he was being honest, he'd say, I am disappointed. I am. Yeah. And we would be. As well. Look, it hurts. It hurts going out. Like, it hurts traveling to Real Madrid thinking we're going through, and within the space of 10 minutes, a whole dream being shattered. It hurts, but it doesn't mean that we now think that Pep's a flop. Like, that is so reactionary, man. It really is. But I mean, and you know it as well, because you never thought you'd win a league, and that feeling that both of our
Premier League for years, mate. We in the Midlands, we were the worst team in the Midlands. There was Forest above us, Derby above us, Coventry were above us. I remember that we were 17. We were battling relegation for years and years, watching Leicester City. And that's not where we are now. I'm talking about in the Championship. We were the worst team in the Midlands.
We were in tier 1 we were in the first division.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about, though. It almost feels like a dream that never happened.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, like, what's even better is when you look at it, and I often, it's funny because the amount of conversations I've had with people about what team is like the best Premier League winning team of all time. What is even madder is that both our teams are probably putting it as well, because the fact that you were never expected to do it. With us, it's 100-point season. Probably with you, it's the fact that out of nowhere you'd finished where the season before,
14th. But just because we were in the relegation, we were bottom of the league for the majority of the season.
And it's just, it is when you, these are the things that make football so beautiful. Like the last day of the season last year, that was special. You winning it, that was special. These special moments, man. But yeah, we'll move on. You definitely want to talk about the big Nordic
Company scoring that screamer against us. That's Company scoring that screamer against us. I just went, nothing I can do.
Well, that's what he said. Company literally said, "There's nothing more I can do for this club. I'm out now." Like, but yeah, Haaland.
Yeah, we're gonna get into 43 minutes, mate, and we've managed to get onto him eventually. We've mentioned everybody else in the world, haven't we?
Well, it's funny because at the moment we don't even know if you lot are going to get to see him.
He will be, because Cancelo and Haaland are doubts for this game. But still, with the squad you've got.
Oh, we should still win. Don't listen. There's no game we should go into and say because one player's out we shouldn't win. we need to get used to winning without Haaland as well. We do. People have got this narrative now that we can't win without Haaland, when last season we were the top scoring team in the top 5 leagues in European football without him. But, you know, our players have got used to going through Haaland. You know, people will pinpoint games that Haaland hasn't played and we haven't scored in, but you could also look at them and say there's certain other players that weren't playing as well. You're just focusing on Haaland. Was De Bruyne on the pitch? Was Bernardo Silva on? Was certain players on the pitch together, or were we rotating? But he's very important to us, the way we're playing this season. And without him, I think Brendan would be happy. You'd all be happy, because
100%.
Even if you have a good game, we have a bad game, but he's on the field, we could still win it. He is unbelievable. Better than I could ever imagine. But yeah, him and Cancelo. I've been trying to work out what Pep said after the game, because it's very
cryptic,
broken English, and he keeps switching between the two. So I'm trying, like, was that about Haaland? Was that about Cancelo? Oh, hi guys. He's gone. So now I take over Beyond the 90 LFC. He will be back with us very shortly. Until then, firstly, make sure you smash the like button if you are watching this. Let me explain why really quickly.
Sorry, mate.
That's cool.
Playing up.
The like button helps to push the channel out to more people. It's free, please smash it now. Right, you've come back, and you've come back in 4K.
It's just one of those things, isn't it? It's unbelievable. I don't know what's happened again, but yeah, appreciate the chat as well. Just you taking over, because I've never. That's the first time I've had the green screen break. I've never been kicked out of my own.
Have you had the green screen during the stream drop?
Yeah, because not drip, not just turn green.
Oh no, I'm waiting for mine to drop, because I've put it up a certain way and it hasn't worked. So I need to take it down and do some sewing, or get someone to do some sewing. But I'm waiting for one day just to drop. But yeah, on Haaland. I don't know if he's playing or not. We'll find out tomorrow. Him and Cancelo, I don't know if one of them's got a foot injury, one of them's got fever, or both of them have got foot injury and fever, because it was so jumping between two players. I'm trying to follow it, thinking, I don't know who you're talking about. But for me, we need to, you know what, we need to play some games without him. We need to get used to, showing people we can. And, I do trust Alvarez. I think Alvarez is a great player. But I always said when we signed Haaland, we need to be able to switch back to that false 9 if need be, and it become fluid that we do it. The other thing I really look, you lot will target us down the left. Who's your left winger?
Harvey Barnes.
Your target is down the left at the moment. With Walker out,
probably.
Cancelo openly is better on the left for me.
I tell you what, Harvey Barnes, I like him, but Walker has him every single time, because he just knows psychology how to play against Harvey Barnes. He goes, kick it long, you're gonna get past me, and he just shrivels. He goes into his shell. So I'm quite glad that Walker's not in for this game, because I'll tell you what, out of all the opponents that we have in the Premier League, probably Walker's his biggest. Walker has him every time in terms of pace, in terms of quality, in terms of defensively. Harvey Barnes just shrivels. Yeah,
it's one of them ones where people disrespect Walker a bit, because ultimately because they just love Trent for his crossing. And with Reece James is a world-class defender. I think Reece James will eventually go on to have a better career than Kyle Walker. But Kyle Walker's won 4 Premier Leagues, right? And countless other trophies. He's been doing it at a top level for probably close to 10 years, right? People do not appreciate his experience. And just what you said there about knowing how to play against different players, and that is exactly it. He's a massive loss for us this season. Down the right, we just and even to passing out from the back, he was probably usually Ederson's go-to. Not on the left, it was usually Walker on the right first. And at the moment, against Brighton last week, kept watching Ederson look at Akanji and be like, nah, go long. So I think you'll target Walker. I really do think you'll target him. But I need to see Laporte back this week. That's the key one for me at City. I need to see Laporte back permanent now. Laporte-Diaz partnership, because Laporte is a Rolls-Royce defender, and our fan base needs to remember it. We forgot, because he was out since the summer, people have forgot just how good he is, but he needs to come back in now.
Yeah.
Especially against Vardy. He will know how to play against Vardy.
Yeah.
We need defenders that know how to play against him.
Because he's old school. And again, we know what Vardy's like as well. But there's so many things. I know you got to shoot, Daps. Again, I could happily talk to you for the next hour. You know what I'm like.
Yeah,
but
we need to do more shows together, man. 100%.
We do. We definitely do. Especially with my internet's finally come back at the end of the stream. But definitely needs to do some more.
Yeah.
Daps, again, thank you so much for coming on, man.
No, thanks for having me. And people, make sure you smash a like on the video right now. And even if you're watching it back. And please find me at Never a Foul.
There's the links all in the description. You can click the title for Never a Foul as well. Again, Daps, pleasure as usual, my friend. Again, feel free to let them know.
Yeah, Never a Foul. Never a Foul. That's where it is. Or if you are on Instagram, LCFC Daps is below me. But yeah, most importantly, Never a Foul on YouTube.
Awesome. Again, if you appreciate, again, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. You know I'm no good at promo, but we'll see you in the next video. So goodbye.